The book that I'm going to talk about today, it's called Folk Tales from Eastern Tibet. And that pretty much tells you what it is about. It's the folk tales from the ancient Tibet, especially the eastern region of it. And there are a variety of reasons to like folk tales around the world. For one thing, they are quite interesting and entertaining, especially for children, because they carry those elements of magic and fantasy and mythology. And for somebody like me, I find it interesting because of the kind of things they tell you about the culture, where they come from. So, some tales will tell you about animals, some will give you some explanations about geography, some stories will be from deserts, some mountains, and accordingly the animals and the birds and all the elements in the story are pretty much in that direction. It also tells a lot about the society. And especially because these folk stories contain some moral lessons all the time. It's interesting to see what morality they are trying to preach here. And since the morality is combined with religions in so many cases, you see what the religion is trying to teach here. So in some cases you'll find that in Eastern traditions especially, you will find this idea of karma or reincarnation. And when you go to the Islamic world, in those folk tales you'll find the mention of jinns and things like that. And as I said, the morality part, what is good and what is bad, that is also pretty much implied, if not directly mentioned in these stories. So is the case is with these stories from Tibet. And this particular book called Folk Tales from Eastern Tibet, it's published by Library of Tibetan Works and Archives, which is managed by the Tibetan government in exile in India. So I'm not sure if you're going to get the book through any bookstore, but if you try to contact this library directly or the publications, then you'll be able to get that. So as I was saying, these folk stories tell you so much about the morality, what a particular society values. So I'm going to narrate you this story called A Clever Boy and a Foolish Boy. And you'll find something interesting here, that the way story is written, it does not imply at all that intellect is a good thing or being clever is a good thing. And in fact, it tries to tell you that how cleverness can be a bad trait sometimes. So, without spoiling too much for you, I'm going to narrate the story. So, here we go. Once upon a time, in a land with many mountains, there lived two shepherds. One of them was considered to be a clever boy, and the other one was known as a fool. Every day, the two boys took a fur coat and an axe and went up high in the mountains where their yaks and sheep could graze. One day, it rained heavily, but they could not find any shelter. "Look, how hard it's raining," said the clever boy to the foolish one. "You know, my brave friend, it almost seems to be bullying you." The foolish boy thought, "I must not be afraid of such a bully." And he strode out into the downpour, raised the axe, and brandished it furiously through the wall of water, shouting, "Stinking rain!" He kept doing it until the rain stopped. While he fought the rain, the clever boy kept his fur coat on and flattered his friend. That evening, when they returned to their homes and took the livestock back to their pens, they saw that all the people were in an uproar over the disappearance of the Princess of Sang. She had been missing since she went to fetch water. Everybody asked the two boys if they saw her anywhere. The next day, the king announced that he would give half his kingdom as a reward to the person who would find his daughter. The clever and the foolish boys decided to go in search of the princess, and they set out at once. On their way, they saw a trail of blood. They followed it, and it led to the mouth of a rocky cave. A huge boulder blocked its entrance. They removed it, peeked into the cave, and realized that it led downwards and opened into a vast space. But it was so dark that they could not see much. The clever boy said to his friend, "Tie a rope around your waist, take the axe, and go down into the pit. I will hold the rope and wait for you here." The foolish boy agreed, and descending into the cave, he crawled on his hands and knees until he reached the rocky bottom. He saw there a gigantic rock that looked like a huge door. He continued walking, and he saw a marvelous underground expanse. He walked further on, and he saw the princess who was fetching water. The princess was terrified and said to him, "This is the place of the demon. You must go back at once, otherwise the demon will eat you up." "Then why didn't he eat you up?" asked the foolish boy. "I am the wife of the demon, so he will not harm me," she said. "But you must go back immediately." The foolish boy answered her bravely, "I came here to find you. So let's go back together now." She answered, "If we escape, the demon will certainly chase us and will catch us. We cannot escape unless we kill the demon. In the heavy rain yesterday, the demon went up to capture a princess from another country. But on his way, an axe brandished by you, foolish boy, hit him. He was badly wounded, and he is lying in bed now." When he heard this, the foolish boy felt greatly encouraged and said bravely, "This is a great opportunity. Let's go and kill the demon right now." The princess told him that the demon has 3 eyes, and that when he sleeps, the huge eye on his forehead is closed, but the other 2 remain open. She also said that his body is as big as a mountain and that it is difficult to kill him unless his head is hit first. After the princess told the boy many things about the demon, she handed him the key to the demon's bedroom. With firm resolution, he went forth to kill the demon. After he opened the door slowly and went in, the foolish boy saw the demon sleeping in his bed. He rushed in, swung the axe with all his might, and hit the demon's middle eye. The demon groaned like thunder and tried to stand on his feet. But the boy struck him once again. The demon's head split in 2, and he died. The foolish boy hurried to the princess's room and cried out, "I killed the demon." She could not believe it and came out from the room. When she came out, all the birds and the insects trapped there by the demon started to sing with joy. "The demon is dead, the demon is dead." After hearing this, she was convinced that it was true. The foolish boy and the princess ran together to the opening of the pit, where the foolish boy called to the clever one, "I've brought with me the king's daughter. Send down the rope." The clever boy called back, "Send the princess up first." So the foolish boy tied the rope around the princess's waist and sent her up. But as soon as she reached the opening of the pit, the clever boy blocked the opening of the pit with huge boulder, wound up the rope instead of throwing it down to his friend, and walked away with the princess. The foolish boy was left there helpless. He went back to the demon's palace and opened all the treasure rooms one by one. He saw that most of the treasure rooms were filled with corpses of people and horses and with human and animal bones. In a treasure room with iron walls, he saw a dragon chained by his legs and arms. When the dragon caught sight of the boy, he cried out in surprise, "How did you get in here?" The foolish boy told him that he killed the demon, but the dragon didn't seem to believe him. When the boy unchained the dragon and the dragon came out from the treasure rooms, all the living beings sang happily again. "The demon is dead, the demon is dead." The dragon was very happy to hear this. He carried the foolish boy to the pit, and when they reached the mouth of the pit, the dragon, releasing a lightning bolt towards the huge boulder blocking the entrance. The boulder was shattered to pieces, and they were able to get out. The foolish boy went back to his village. As soon as the clever boy heard about the foolish boy's return, he went to see him quickly and made such clever excuses for his earlier actions that he managed to convince him. Afterwards, he suggested, "Let's celebrate tonight your safe return home." And they stayed together, drinking and enjoying themselves. After a while, the clever boy asked the foolish one, "Friend, where is our fur coat and our axe? I haven't seen them. Do you remember where they are?" The foolish boy took out the fur coat and the axe and gave them to the clever boy, and they went to sleep. Around midnight, the clever boy got up from his bed and picked up the axe. He then struck the foolish boy with the axe till he fell down senseless. Then he put his body in a basket and threw him into the river nearby. The next day at sunrise, the clever boy went to see the king, and with the air of a simple, honest lad, said to him, "I saved your daughter from the demon. Now please give me half your kingdom as promised." But the princess said to her father, "This is not the boy who saved me. The foolish boy is the one who saved me." So the king said to his retinue, "Find the foolish boy and bring him to me." A few days later, one of the king's female servants went to fetch water and found a basket on the river bank. She looked inside and saw the almost lifeless body of the foolish boy. She ran back to tell the king, and as soon as the boy was brought to the palace, the princess recognized him and said, "He is the one." The king called many doctors to treat him, but they could not heal his injuries. So the king proclaimed throughout his kingdom that if anyone could heal the boy's injuries, he should come to the palace. When the dragon heard the kingdom's announcements, he descended from the sky and went to the palace. The dragon took the jewel that rested between its horns and placed it at the heart center of the foolish boy. The boy opened his eyes and his health was instantly restored. When he was able to speak again, the foolish boy told the king how the clever boy had deceived him and all that had happened. The king exiled the clever boy to a remote land, and the foolish boy became the groom of the princess. Not long afterwards, the king passed away and the foolish boy became the ruler of the country. Together, the foolish boy and the princess ruled the kingdom in accordance with the laws of Dharma and lived in happiness and prosperity ever after.